Hey guys, hope you're doing well today. This is your buddy Lloyd, and we're in our podcast, Sounds from the Shed. Appreciate you guys logging in. This is a home place for the independent artist and a podcast for us to have a home to talk about stuff that's going on in the indie music scene. And I've got a good friend of mine in here with us today. A pleasure to have Mr. Lance Farlow in here with us today, singer-songwriter. Lance, how are you doing today, my friend?
Good Lord, I appreciate you having me out, man.
Hey, thanks for taking time to hang out with me. So, how's everything going in your world, in the world of music?
It's good, brother. It's just it's busy like normal, so trying to get out there and beat the bushes and do all the things. So
Yeah. So what's your latest project you've got coming out? Because I actually this morning I dialed up my Apple Music and started hitting up my Lance Farlow playlist, and I think you do the Faith and Peril is a wonderful wonderful project, and I've had a chance to listen to some of the cuts this morning, and really really loving what you're doing.
thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I can use all the streams I can get. So, but no, that was a good project to work on, and obviously that was my debut, album that I put out, and
Yeah.
it's interesting because all those songs I wrote just on an acoustic,
Hmm.
just by myself, and then seeing the production and how things come together has been very interesting.
Yeah.
About halfway through on my next album right now, and I'm gonna switch the focus, I think, on the sound that I'm going for, and we can definitely get into that later on when we start talking about influence and that kind of stuff. But
Yeah. Because we're going to get to that for sure. So, how
perfect.
long have you been a singer songwriter?
Well, I've been playing music and I've been singing ever since I was a kid,
Hmm.
and I've only been doing it, I guess, in the quote professional, capacity, making money, actually doing it for a living.
A
Uh,
musician making money?
I know a couple of dollars here and there. So, but about 3 years is what I've been getting into it, and even a little bit less on writing. So,
Yeah. Now you're based in Florida, right?
actually, I live very, very close to Florida, but I'm actually on the Georgia side.
I
So,
got you.
yeah,
So you
right
claim to
outside.
be a Georgia boy or a Florida boy?
I'm definitely from Georgia. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah.
So tell me about your project you got going on now. Is it going to be a whole album, or are you going to release singles or
So,
EP?
so really, what I'm looking for is probably about a 10 track album.
Yeah.
And with it, I will definitely, have all the stuff I'm writing plus some other projects or, some tracks I'm working on that's going to go into it.
Hmm.
And I'm looking hopefully right after first of the year to be able to release it. And I'll probably drop about 3 singles leading up to the actual release itself. So,
Spread it along.
yeah,
So
definitely
are you
so.
going to do like three every 90 days and then do the album, or
Yeah, probably that's what it's going to be. Once one single a month until we drop is probably what I'm
that's
looking at.
That's what I'm doing now, and I'm trying to get a few of them finished up because I've only got just a well, we only got just a few more months left in this year.
I know
Actually,
it's
I
flying
can't believe
by.
how fast 2025 has gone. It seems like the older I get, the faster they are for sure.
I say that all the time. So,
But now you've been on the road a pretty good bit as far as performing, and then because if you're like myself, you have to have a day job,
right.
and so but you and I've been talking about this. This is the one of the coolest day jobs I think I'd ever would want.
Yeah, definitely so. I obviously I was playing full time,
Hmm.
and the pace that I was going, I was on track to do in between about 200 to 220 shows a year.
It's
And
amazing.
it's grueling, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, I enjoy the playing. I enjoy getting out and going to different places and venues and crowds and all that stuff. But like and just like everybody else knows, you can't do that and just play original music. You've got to play covers, you got to hit all the things, you got to do that, and that kind of wears on you after a while.
Yeah.
Just
One of
being
the things I've always admired about you and Zach Menino, which we've got Zach on the show also, he's doing a show with us as well too. One of the things I respect about you guys is you are doing the songwriter round type shows in South Georgia and North Florida. And I applaud you guys for stepping out and doing that because there are most of the musicians in South Georgia and in Florida for the most part, and a lot around Georgia, the whole state. that aren't doing that. They're just going that cover band route and try to slip an original in. And Lord knows I'm guilty of it. I go book the cover stuff to keep the cash flow going so we could keep making the
Sure.
projects and keep doing
Sure.
that stuff. But that's one of the things that I respect and admire about you guys, about you stepping out and saying, hey, we're going to take a venue, we're going to make it an event, and it's only going to be songwriter.
Well,
It's amazing.
and the crazy thing about it, you get away from Nashville and other kind of music hubs, and unless a person has traveled and they've gone, to Nashville and those places, they probably don't even know what a listening room is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of consumer and social education that goes with it at the same time
Mm-hmm.
of saying, hey, this is what this experience is, not background music, it's not that. And you find people actually do want that and they do come out for that, which
Yeah.
is actually really cool to see that. So
Well, I think our closest like music room would be what, Macon.
I think so, yeah. I think
So
so.
I that's one of the things I love about it with you guys. You bring it to Thomasville or the Valdosta area or anywhere. So I would love to encourage other artists, if you are a singer songwriter, take a chance and do what these guys have done. So kind of give the breakdown of it, because that's one of the things I love about this podcast is this is for the independent artist to find sources to lean on and say, hey, these guys are doing it. Why can't we doing it? So do it. So how many shows have you guys done in the songwriter round, and kind of give me a quick rundown of how you would handle it if you booked one?
So as of this year, I think I've been a part of 4 that we've done this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the periphery of several others that have taken place and still trying to plan and do more. And if it's not covered in enough detail, anybody out there, if you want to reach out, feel free to reach out and I'll tell you exactly the model that we use or things we say, no, that we didn't find that worked,
Yeah.
or this seemed to streamline. But I think it's really important to, go ahead and find a venue that you want to partner up
Partner
with.
with. Yeah. Right.
Right, because not all the venues even understand
Yeah.
the listening room experience. So you need to be able to explain what it's going to be. And obviously, with the venue, they're going to want to, at the end of the day, no matter how much they love music and support it, they're going to say, how much is this going to cost?
Is
What is
it
this
going to
going
be
to
worth it for them to take a night out? I completely understand, because a lot of these venues, are you asking them to say, hey, the only people that are going to come in tonight are the ones buying the tickets?
I would say, for me personally, if you do a listening room experience, you have to isolate that room. If
Agree.
not, what's going to happen is people are going to show up and they haven't purchased a ticket and they're going to treat it like background music while other people are trying to listen and you're just clashing,
Yeah. They're
crowds
going to be
together.
talking, maybe, especially if it's a big party, it'd be noisy and take
That's
away
right.
from the experience, because in a listening room environment, you're supposed to be quiet and listen to
Right.
the artist.
And if I paid for a ticket, I wouldn't be happy that there's
I
other
wouldn't
people
either.
that are there doing that. So definitely they're having the whole room, depending on the venue, or having a closed off area,
Mm-hmm.
depending on how the venue's structured, and that's where it's being offered, and that ticketed format is where to go with it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
All right, so what has probably been your biggest hiccup this year as far as being a singer songwriter?
honestly, and I know this is probably going to ruffle some feathers and all that kind of stuff, but I'm completely okay
No, not
with doing
music.
that. Yeah. Honestly, man, it's probably 2 things. Number one, in the songwriting community, I have met so many good people and
Mm-hmm.
so many helpful people, but in the musician community, it becomes very vicious. People not wanting to share, don't move into the territory, don't do this. So they're fighting over these same venues and these 3-hour gigs, and people are cutting prices just to get work, and it affects everybody else. So I
Yeah.
tell people, charge what you're worth, is important.
If you don't
Um,
put the value in yourself, nobody else will. It's
that's right.
somebody told me that a long time ago, and that's always been the kind of what I try to stand on as well too. And there's plenty to go around. I've had this discussion with so many other artists on this show about how other artists refuse to kind of support, or the backbiting or the backstabbing. There's plenty to go around.
That's
And
right.
and why not love on other artists and help them grow, because it'll come back around to you. It's just the old karma thing anyway. If you give and you help people, it's going to come back and help you eventually.
That's right. That's right. And the other thing is honestly has been venues.
Mm-hmm.
Dealing with a multitude of venues, dealing with booking. And I have seen so many different approaches on it that, say for instance, this, if a place only books you through Facebook, that's probably an issue that's going to arise if you don't have direct contact and you don't have a direct relationship because they're running a mill, and you don't have that solidarity. And I try to tell people, yes, maybe you're just getting into it and you got to do what you can to get the gig and all that other kind of stuff.
Sure.
But at the same time, and I don't think it's arrogant to say this, I think we can agree, is that when we're talking to a venue, I'm not auditioning for you per se. You're also auditioning for me to come in. Is this a place that's conducive for me to play at
Mm-hmm.
all? Is there going to be a crowd? Is there going to be this, whatever? And so we get real lost in translation on those venues. Some of them are excellent, great. They have great relationships, whatever. And then there seems to be venues that are like, we'll take whoever we can. We'll pay them as less as we can. And if you don't like it, we'll find the next guy. And, that's okay. Go find the next guy because I
It's
don't.
perfectly fine. That's right.
Yep. Yep. So
I've always been a firm believer in this. Find your people.
that's right.
And venues are definitely a part of your people
That's right.
because it's a relationship game. And some artists have figured it out, some of them haven't. Partner with who you want to work with. Find your people that want to support you in your music. Um, that's probably been my biggest hiccup I've had in the past is, okay, where are my people at? But mainly that's probably a lot of my fault because I'm all over the place with how I write.
That's right.
Um, like this kind of vibe I've been going for this few months. I wrote something that's kind of Americana-ish. Then I may write a honky tonk kind of vibe because my downfall is I love all types of genres of music. So
Sure.
I guess that's one of the beautiful things about being an independent artist is you can experiment with sounds and vibes and types of music and however you want to do it. But the old formula is find your lane and stay in it. And I think that's probably going to be my downfall. I can't
Yeah.
stay in my lane.
It's tough, man, and some people get agitated when you start making music that's not the example of music that they first found you.
Yeah,
And then other people are like, well, that first album I didn't care for, but these follow-ups are different.
I
And
like it. Yeah,
I definitely like it. So you run that risk, but at the end of the day, man, it's your art's your art,
yeah,
and you make it and you write what you feel and they say write what you know and all that kind of stuff. But you can be influenced by all kind of things and write what comes out of that and put it out there and then this you and I, it's not our responsibility anymore. Once the art's out there, it's for the people to
it's out there.
consume. They're going to hate it, they're going to love it, but it's out there. There's not a whole lot we can do about it at that point. So
Yeah. So, what's one of the things that gets you excited about writing? Is it the collaboration, or is it the actual live performance? What pushes you? What's your, I guess, what's your why?
yeah, so honestly, man, I came into the writing game later on.
Hmm.
Had stuff in life and doing different things, and by the time I got to the point where I said I'm actually kind of, I feel like I have to or I need to open up. It almost started off as a form of therapy. It's like there's things that got to get out, and writing become the way to do that. And so that's what drove me into that process. And I was kind of worried about what was going to come out,
Yeah.
and because you start opening up these boxes that you've held away for years and years, and you almost can't control the flood of things that are moving at that point. And so
Yeah.
that's what drove me to do it. And then getting the satisfaction of being able to have a concept or a story, or all those things, and then see that in its final form is very satisfying and very
Hmm.
fulfilling. So that's
Isn't
kind of.
that amazing to see what happens when you just took a line of something or just an idea or just a life experience? And I had one person ask me one time, they said, why did you all of a sudden this late in life start writing music? I said, well, I've been writing all my life. It's just, I've just finally got to the point to where I can actually put it to a story, I guess, and put it out.
Yeah.
Because I guess when you were younger and you do write about going out and partying and having fun, that's what you got in the life. But then when you start experiencing loss, could it be through a relationship that didn't work out that you moved on forward, or the loss of a loved one? I mean, you when you got start getting into that, I mean, that's some deep pain that you can really get out there in the open, and people relate to it because it happens to them as well. So,
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah.
And I think that's the big thing you just nailed on the head. And I tried to explain this and carry this with me is that our brain looks for symmetry in everything that we look at. That's what we normally see as beauty, anyways, when we look at any other type of medium of art.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening, and the way that I do when I read a book, I listen to a song or whatever, I try to visualize myself in that storyline. I try to find the symmetry within my own life. And I think that if you do that within your writing and you're able to create stories that are about normal people or whatever's going on,
Hmm.
that's going to strike something with those listeners, as well, and they'll find themselves within your stories. So,
Yeah. What would be your advice that you would give to an aspiring artist? Because the one thing I want people to take away from this podcast is say, hey, we've got some friends out there that are willing to help us. And, we've been through it. We've been around long enough to, God, I still screw up. I screw up on stuff I wrote about. I did the
same.
wrong thing. I mean, that's just part of it. What would be your advice to give someone who is just now starting to take this journey?
I think that the way that it would break down for me is to figure out which path you want to go down, right? Being an artist and being a writer isn't exactly exclusive, and everyone knows that. So if your drive is to be a performing artist and that's what you want to focus on, then truly focus on the performance effort of what you're doing.
Hmm.
That means being technically proficient in whether it's vocal or guitar, whatever the instrument is that you're playing, getting out and gigging and actually building chops and getting that time in that. And then obviously, just strumming the chords, only one portion of it. How do we engage a crowd? How do we read a crowd? How do we look at a set list and
Connect.
say, yeah, say, hey guys, that next one's not going to ring with the vibe we got. Let's go ahead and roll into this one, or
Hmm.
whatever it is. I think that's really important, as far as that's
It
considered.
is.
If it's
I get amazed nowadays, I guess, with and Zach and I talked about this, is about how nowadays you have artists that don't really care to go out and perform. They just want to get on a Facebook Live, or they just want to, or do a type of virtual type performance, and don't really want to get. I just I get online just so I can go out and perform live because it's part of the necessary evil nowadays.
That's right, and that's true, man. Because digitally we've changed so much. TikTok and other servers, or services that are providing the ability to reach tons of people.
Yeah.
And you can become TikTok famous, and it's happened, but it's very far and few that it occurs. And then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, if I go viral and one of my songs on TikTok has 1 million hits on it, well, then what do I do next? Can I replicate that? Probably not. So
Mm-mm.
I've got a following, I've got all of these things, but I also have to then say, how do I recouple to the machine or the industry to figure out, okay, distribution, touring, production, management, all those other things. So honestly, to me, the organic route is probably the best way to go if you're looking at longevity.
Yeah.
And not only that, but you learn so much when you're on the road, and you learn so much when you're in front of people over and over and over again, and you learn how to do all those things that a performing artist has to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're writing in a room and you're recording and you have really cool background and all these kind of things or whatever, does that translate to the stage? Because you may go out there and try to perform that huge hit, viral, whatever it is, and it's going to fall flat in front of those
Yeah.
rooms. So
Yeah. I had another artist tell me that the odds of getting a viral hit are pretty much so like the odds of winning the lottery. So
yep,
play the lottery, try and keep producing music. Maybe one of them will hit. That's my
absolutely,
business plan.
absolutely, yeah.
So, any cool collaborations you got coming up, or what's in the works for that?
So for the longest time, I wrote by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of my process that I had to do. Some
Hmm.
stuff like I said, I need to get out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the writing process to me is kind of like a muscle. You got to flex it. whether you feel like writing or not or whatever. Just get used to the idea of putting stuff out and writing or typing or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but then I saw the importance of starting to team up with other individuals and then saying, hey, even if I don't use these songs that we're writing, I'm also exercising a muscle in a different way.
Sure.
And I'm learning how to hear multiple concepts and then, you know, ad lib and jump into it and then come back out and it helps overall in the writing. So even if you're not planning on using a co-write or making a cutoff or anything like that, it actually just helps in the process of writing, and makes, in my opinion, makes you a better writer.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I have people that I'll get together with and that I write with. Zach's one of them. Him and I are real close, and we've written together. Another buddy of ours, Justin Lee Parton, down in Central Florida there as
Oh,
well.
he's amazing as well too.
Yeah,
Some other
he's
stuff.
such a good dude, such a solid player, writer, all of those things. He's really awesome, and he's done a lot for the songwriting community in that area.
Mm-hmm.
He's donating his time to bring in people and do these things and try to get
Yeah.
that motion. And then I have, some individuals that are known writers, that have been around for a long time. And I look at them as kind of like mentors as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get with them and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Or, co-write with that. And it's kind of interesting. One of the ones who she's a friend of mine, but she's also a mentor. And my people tell me, man, you're, your songs aren't happy songs. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know what to tell you,
But it's the season. And
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people don't understand that when you're in the songwriting, it's a season of your life. At least it was for me for the longest time. It's just
sure.
seasons. And then every now and then okay, I want to write something fun. Okay, I just want to write about this. Um, and I get it when they're saying that, but if it's a season of your life, but it's cool that you're having that collaboration with other folks that are basically, I guess, on the outside looking in.
Sure. Yeah.
And
You're
that's
getting
why
that.
it's so important about, I encourage artists, especially people that are just getting started. I'm like, listen, it's all about the hang. It's not about how amazing of a singer you are or how amazing of a pianist or guitarist you are. Yes, it's nice. It's nice to be able to be able to play. But what do you think? Probably 80% of the music industry is the hang, or do you think
Yeah.
it'd be more or less?
Well, no, I agree with that. And there is an importance in the hang.
Mhm.
Like me, I've always kind of been more of a reserved, introverted person. And I've learned the hard way that anything to deal with music or the industry even or the light industry before you even get there, it's based upon socializing and networking.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's how you make connections. That's how you go back and forth. The opportunities start multiplying and developing and all that kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
if you're sitting there and, you normally don't get out with people or you don't, whatever, go try to find anything.
Go
There's a
to a
song.
show. Go to a
Yes.
show and hang around.
Go to the Songwriters Festival and just hang out and meet people, and you'll see how nice they are. And then be like, hey, you want to play
Yeah.
one? Or hey, you want to get together and this and that. And that's how you really start growing
Yeah.
out of that.
And I've
So,
told guys for years, I'm like, listen, okay, if you do get the opportunity to go open for somebody, even if it's a local artist, when you're done with your set, stay and hang out and don't pack your shit up and get in the car and leave immediately. Yeah, I
yeah.
understand if you got a gig, yeah, but
Yeah.
if you don't have anything else going on the rest of the night, hang out with the people. Definitely watch the set of the group or the person if they invited you to open for them, because I mean, it's an honor and a privilege, and they don't have to ask you to come back.
And it's also the polite thing to do as well. If you go play with a group of people, the way I look at it is it's kind of like this is a team effort here.
Hmm.
And even though I've played, I'm going to try to be there when the first person plays, and I'm going to try to be there when the last person, and show support to those individuals as well. Because I think that's real important to band together and not just be, well, it's all for me.
Yeah.
I've done my part. I'm out. Y'all see you.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. See,
So,
and just take your crap and then just leave right after the show. I mean, it's very disrespectful, and I
yeah.
get it. Especially if it's somebody who's been around for a long time, and it's hard to not get jaded. It really is hard not to get jaded, but you still have to be respectful of other people, and wouldn't. It all goes back to the do unto others as well too. All right, so would you want them opening for you? and then leaving immediately, or would you want them to hang out? Some people probably wouldn't care, but I don't know. It just seems like the right thing to do.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so all right, so we talked about it a little bit, but this is so interesting of what you're doing now because we talked about day jobs and what you got to do because a lot of people are not making all their living playing music. So you were former military, right?
That's right.
All
Yeah.
right. So
So
give us a little history of your past.
okay, cool. So up until this point, graduate high school, joined the Marine Corps during that
Mhm.
time right afterwards,
Thank you for
and
your service.
yeah, absolutely. And did my time there. That was back in the 2000s when the wars were going on, so went
Yeah.
overseas and all that stuff. And then I came back, and I worked actually as a contract musician for about a year and a half during that transition period,
Hmm.
and mostly out of Atlanta, doing that. And then I really did not know what I was going to do. I kind of fell out of that, and a lot of veterans face that transition problem,
Sure.
of not knowing what the next step is, whatever. And so then I finally actually wound up getting into public safety.
Hmm.
And so I became a paramedic and worked in that world and did all those things that you could do, even the educational capacity of it. And by the time I was getting ready and started playing music live again,
Hmm.
I was ending that season, and I realized it was time for me to move on from that. And that's really where the writing started right after that, and all of these years of things that I've kind of just put in those boxes. I was like, I got to start dealing with some of this stuff. And that's what I chose to do. And all of that gave me a very diverse background and those worlds and what happens and different areas of that. And so I started playing full time. I made that transition. I was playing full time,
Hmm.
enjoying it, doing all those things. But at the same time, it's very grinding, and it's you're like it's like everything else. It's any other self employment that you do. You got to worry about paying the bills. You got to worry
That's right.
about saying yes to the gigs that you don't really want to, but you got to.
Yeah.
You want to keep the lights on, kind of thing. And through those years and doing all those different things, I met a lot of people,
Hmm.
and so it so happened that things worked out where some people I met from the past were like, hey, this is what we're doing now. Would you be interested in coming into this and doing this as well? I think you'd be a good fit for it.
Yeah.
And I heard it all out, and I was like, I think I would definitely do that.
Yeah.
And so I wound up making another transition in life, and I took a job working in the industry.
Hmm.
But in the many facets of the industry that you can get into, one that's actually very prevalent is and needed among many, many, many artists is executive protection.
Uh-huh.
And so that's what I fell into at that point. And so now that's what I do.
Yeah. And it's amazing. You've gotten to work with a lot of wonderful artists. We're not going to say any of them, but I love it that you've been able to basically travel all over the world.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And it was an eye opener for me because you can go from playing clubs and bars and different things like that, but when you go on arena tours,
Hmm.
you see a whole nother side of production of how a show gets put together, how
Yeah.
venue interface works, how all these other things, and it gives you just an excellent education, on how
How
that
the pros are
machine
doing it.
yeah, how the machine works and what's going on behind the
Yeah.
scenes, and so it's been highly educational, to say the least, on doing those
All
things. So
about the hang, isn't it, Lance?
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
about you knowing somebody and it opened another door for you. And that's what I try to encourage to so many artists out there. I'm like, this is not a competition. It's a marathon to start with, but it's a journey. Enjoy the ride. Go meet people. Go support them. Go love on them. Love on their social media. You'll never know what would happen. A lot of the best shows that I was able to book, saying if I was opening for another artist or a larger artist, I got because another artist I'm friends with couldn't do the show, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm booked, but this guy here does a great job," and they reach
Yeah.
out to me. And a
Absolutely.
lot of guys just don't get that. I'm like,
That's right.
you got this is a partnership, and well, not necessarily a partnership, but I mean, we are a family of sort, and we should look after each other because it'll come back to you. So
Yeah.
that's such a cool story that how that opened that door for you.
And it's great, man, because it for me, it tickles all the areas.
Yeah,
I have the background and that life that I still enjoy the capacity of those things, but also I'm working with musicians
yeah.
and in music, so I
You're
get to
still doing
see
what you love.
absolutely across the board. So to me, it couldn't be any better of a fit,
That's
to
incredible.
have those combined. So
Incredible. Folks, our buddy Lance Farlow. Check him out online, lancefarlowmusic.com. And of
that's
course,
right.
Lance, anything else you want to tell the folks about? I appreciate you so much for taking some time out with me today. So anything else you want to hit on or mention to folks?
I will tell you, anyone in the Southeast, any writers, players, any of those kind of things, we are still dedicated to assisting and helping, those others because let's be honest, if we don't keep songwriting and if we don't keep encouraging others to songwrite, the industry has already shown us that they're just going to produce an AI version of us, and
That's true.
songwriting will die.
It
So
will.
we have to take care of each other, and we have to do that. So if anyone's out there and they're saying, "Hey, I'm in that area, or I'll travel to that area,"
Mhm.
contact me. Contact those other guys that we mentioned as well,
Yeah.
and we'll do everything we can to try to plug you in and build that network and do that. So don't feel like you're alone or by yourself out there because you're not. There's a lot of people that are going through the same exact thing everywhere. So
Yep. That's been my biggest thing is I think that I've really wanted to encourage in this whole podcast that I'm doing now weekly is guys, you're not alone. There's folks out there you can lean on and turn to, and if you just a lot of times just sit back and listen.
that's right. Exactly.
And I'm going to add Lance Farlow to my favorite playlist. So you guys do the same thing as well too,
I'll take it.
because you're on all the platforms. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done my
E-
homework, done all the platforms. But you guys look him
Even
up, and of course, what's your favorite social media platform of choice? Do you have one or several?
well, I think it depends on the market you're trying to reach, right?
Yeah,
Obviously, Instagram is probably the most prolific with our younger crowds and that kind of stuff. And you can get a lot of traction there, but obviously don't forget Facebook. There's a ton of people that use it and you get a lot of
still on it.
engagement there.
Yeah,
And I say play around with them all. Do TikTok, do Instagram, do all of them and see and even change your social approach to each one and research it to
yeah,
get the best value out of the reach that you're trying to get.
yeah.
So
Because it is amazing. You'll do one form of you'll do a piece of content. And if you put it on different platforms, they're all going to react differently based on the people that are on there. Well, at
absolutely.
least it's happened to me that way. So,
Learn the algorithms that's out there. You can easily research it, even what times to post, what
yeah.
days to post, what to put out, and even something like ChatGPT will create a schedule for you that tells you what is the best acceptable algorithm to reach folks. So I take it as much as you can and use it to your advantage. So
Yeah. Yep. Lance Farlow, ladies and gentlemen. Lance, thank you so much for hanging out today, my friend. Y'all look him up. It's lancefarlowmusic.com.
thanks for having me, Lloyd.